Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politically Unhinged. As always, I am your host, Anthony Rader, and today we're going to go ahead and do the final map projections and so for this 2024 election cycle. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into this right now. And we're going to go basically state by state of what we can see what the margins to be. Yeah. We're going to be going off the Real Clear Politics polling to see how the states will go ahead and sway. Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and take into a matter of fact how much the polls were off last election cycle. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've gone ahead, I've marked every single state as a toss-up, but we already know that that is not going to be happening at all. So what I want to go ahead and do, I want to go ahead and mark off the safe states for every single candidate. So for Kamala Harris, her safe states will include Washington, Oregon, California, Maryland, Delaware, Vermont, and the 2nd District of Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. This won't let me do. Sorry. All right. And we'll also go ahead and mark off the state of Illinois for Kamala Harris. And right here is what Kamala Harris has as her safe states. Now for Donald Trump, what his safe states will end up being. I'm going to give him Alaska, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. I accidentally clicked on them. So we're going to give him South Carolina, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, all of it except its 2nd District, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky. Yeah. And those are Donald Trump's safe states right there. Here. Now, the next states we're going to go over, they're going to be a little bit more competitive. But a candidate will have the edge, and these are the likely states. But as we can see here, Donald Trump is down just by 18 electoral votes, just by filling in the likely states. Sorry, the safe states, and now we're going to go over to the likely states. Now, your likely states is going to be anywhere, or still within a double-digit margin. And we're going to go ahead and get that done today, right now. So what our likely states, how I like to put it, is anywhere from 15% to 11%. All right, for Kamala Harris, that will include Colorado, and New Jersey. That's actually about it. I mean, the thing is that the entire state of Maine will be likely, so we're going to go ahead and give that to her right now. Oh, the problem is, though, is that even though she went ahead and picked Tim Walz as her running mate, Minnesota is actually going to be leaning Democrat for her. She's not going to win it as much as Joe Biden did back in 2020. Yeah. But that is also because she is a far weaker candidate. Now, Trump's likely states go for Florida, Texas. Yes. And it will also be Ohio, Iowa. I just realized they mark Indiana for safe. All right. And now this is what we got. We got Trump with the edge at 218 electoral votes. And now this is where we're going to go ahead and bring up the polling. Now, you may have noticed that I have left New York, New Hampshire, and Virginia, yeah, as well as New Mexico on the map. Now, these are what I'm going to be calling our sleeper states. But in all honesty, what's going to happen with New York, Kamala Harris will be ending up winning that state by a lean margin, which is anywhere from 10% to about 5% in this scenario. Cool. But we're going to go ahead and look at the polling anyway. Donald Trump has actually gained a pretty bit of ground in New York, to where some of the Democrats have actually been pushing for campaigning in the state. So let's see if we can go ahead and pull this up. Problem is, as well, is that with everything that's going on, they're not necessarily showing polling for New York at the moment at RCP. So we're going to have to go over to 270 to win for polling for that. So, all right. So, now looking at 270 for the percentages. Is now in this right here they have Trump down quite a bit, but here's the thing. It is Signal, and we have a Siena College polling. Trump is not going to be losing by this wide of a margin in New York. However, Kamala Harris will still pull off the win, but it will not be as big as a win back as it was in 2020 under Joe Biden. Yes, I could see a reason why Atlas Intel would be off this election cycle. That is because with all the polling and pollsters, they've came together and they want to go ahead and say, hey, that it is more competitive. And why are they saying he's losing Iowa? Well, it is only one poll, and it's one of the most leftist polls out there. Here. That poll is a non sequitur. It doesn't even matter. Here. We'll actually go into that one right now, shortly. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to mark off New York for Kamala Harris. And we're going to mark it off as a to lean state. So, but let's go ahead. Let's talk about that polling in Iowa for you. Yeah. So So you were talking about this polling right here. All right. This was by the Des Moines Register. All right. The Des Moines Register is honestly a very left leaning poll. And quite frankly, it's not really going to do anything. They have Kamala Harris up by 3. Now, versus, go ahead and we look at Emerson. Now, Emerson is one of the best pollsters in the country. Even though I don't necessarily like them myself, I think all the pollsters are going to be off once again this election cycle. So, once again, we're going to go ahead and look at the Iowa. And now this is with Emerson. So they had Trump up with the Des Moines Register, or they had him down. All right, but here's the thing. With Emerson, Trump is up by 10 points. And it's with a similar voting sample. This one's more likely, but the thing is, with the Des Moines Register, they only really poll people that are in Des Moines, Iowa, which is a very left leaning city in Iowa. So, right. But we're going to get this pulled back up here. I have no clue why my internet's so freaking slow right now. I do apologize, everyone. But let's go ahead and dive into the state of Virginia. So the state of Virginia is going to be my sleeper pick this election cycle. The state of Virginia is going to be a sleeper pick because I actually see the state of Virginia going either way. Yeah. Either candidate can win the state of Virginia. Yeah. It all depends on the turnout in the state of Virginia to see who will actually win that state. Now, we know that the turnout is high in Northern Virginia right now, but at the same time, the southern part, I think it's like the southeastern part of Virginia, those people are showing up in droves to vote. So Virginia is going to be the sleeper pick for me. However, I do think it might ultimately go to Kamala Harris by a tilt margin. It's going to be under 3%, folks. This tilt margin is going to be under 3%, and it's going to be close. Now let's get back to the state of New Hampshire. The state of New Hampshire is also a decent sleeper pick. What's going on right now in the polling for it? It is now once again in play for the Republicans. Now, people like to say, like, oh, you're just making this stuff up. It is officially now in play. Yeah. And well, let's go ahead and look at the latest polls for New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire was considered a swing state back when Joe Biden was still in the race. But now, it's getting back to that. So we go ahead and we look at the polling in this state right now. So you can see that they have University of New Hampshire with Kamala's +5, St. Anselm +5. Now Rasmussen, all right, Rasmussen's one of the biggest pollsters in the country. Now they do lean politically right for the most part. Same with Emerson right here. Here we have a 3 and a 1. We're going to go ahead and ignore these ones right here. The UNH and St. Anselm. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. Now, the only thing I want to give these two is that they do have a larger sample, but their MOE is far lower. So, if we're just taking the average between Rasmussen and Emerson, we will see New Hampshire go to Kamala Harris by a tilt category. And now we're looking at a map that's very similar to what we have been seeing. But I do want to go ahead. Let's just get these districts out of the way. Yeah, Nebraska's district will go ahead and be for Kamala Harris, Nebraska's 2nd district. Now, Trump will go ahead and secure the 1st district in Maine by a pretty safe majority. And now let's go ahead and get into New Mexico. Now, in the state of New Mexico, we do know that Hispanics have been going ahead and trending towards the right. And that is just going ahead and seeing it with every other national group. Minorities are trending to the right by several percentage points this election cycle and overall in the last several years. So, as we see here in New Mexico, they have a KOB polling, Rasmussen, and Albuquerque Journal. Well, now these are very similar, but I do not have Kamala Harris winning this by the margin that they are saying at 6.7. Ultimately, what's going to happen is that Kamala Harris will go ahead and win New Mexico, but she'll barely make it into the lean category. Now, here we go. We got the big 7 swing states that everyone has been talking about this election cycle. We got Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. And I just realized I didn't fill out DC and Hawaii, but that's only 7 points. But right now, as we see that Kamala Harris is going to have a slight edge from 226 and Republicans at 219. Now, I will be going over each state in depth very shortly and why I see the trends going that way. Now, keep in mind, North Carolina, all right, there is a governor race, and that governor candidate is doing poorly. And that will ultimately bring down Trump's numbers in the state. However, his margin of victory, I believe, will still be higher than it was back in 2020. So, let's go ahead and let's dive in to the least competitive swing states. The least competitive swing states are Georgia and Arizona. So, I'm going to go ahead and tackle Arizona real quick. Now, I grew up in Arizona. I remember when the state was very, very red. And well, now, thanks to the Republican Party, not necessarily doing their job in the state, it is not looking good for the Senate candidates. It's there. But let's go ahead and talk about the state of Arizona in the polls. So, since polling has gotten very less competitive in the state, as we can see, the only one that has it basically remotely competitive in the state is Morning Consult. CNN giving Kamala Harris the edge at 1 point. Noble Predictive Insights polling as well, just by giving Trump 1 point. Now, here's the thing. I do think Trump is going to end up winning Arizona. It's going to be by a 3 percentage point win. Most likely, it's going to range anywhere between 2 and 3%. Thing is that if we look at this one right here with 8% with Data Orbital, that's not going to happen. Now, Atlas Intel having Trump up by 6 points. I would love that to happen, but I do not see a situation where Donald Trump is going to take a swing state by 6 points. But I am going to go ahead and put Arizona now in the lean Republican category. Yeah. And now let's go ahead and move on to the state of Georgia and see what's going on there. Now, as you guys know, my good friend Political Education has gone ahead and been on the show going into depth of what we're seeing in Georgia in that state. And I can tell you this, he was absolutely shocked that Georgia went to Joe Biden last election cycle. Now, going ahead and looking at the state of Georgia with its polling, as we can go ahead and see here we got Trump up by 1, Trump up by 2, Trump up by 5. If we got a Morris poll with it being a tie, and we have a New York Times Siena poll with Harris +1. It's not going to be Harris +1. Same with now. Let's go ahead and look at this. CNN had Trump +1. And as we all know, CNN leans heavily Democratic. We see Atlas Intel with a 2-point margin. Thing is that if Donald Trump's going to win this state, it's not going to be as competitive as it was back then in 2020. What we are going to see Donald Trump win it by a lean margin. He's going to ultimately win it between 1.5% to 3%. Now, if we go ahead and let's look at the other swing states. We got North Carolina and Nevada. Those are the next ones we're going to go over, and then we're going to go ahead and tackle that blue wall. Now, if we go ahead and let's bring our attention to Nevada real quick. Now, in the state of Nevada, it's only 6 electoral votes. It doesn't really mean much this election cycle. But it has been on the GOP radar for a long time. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the state of Nevada and why the Republicans may actually win this state. So, but the state of Nevada has been very competitive the last few election cycles, to the point where Republicans have gone ahead and saying, hey, we need to go ahead and set our eyes straight on Nevada, try to go ahead and swing this into our category. Now, Republicans ended up winning the Republican seat in Nevada for governor. Sorry about that. By a pretty slim margin. And now, this state is going to be a lot more competitive overall. Now, I will go ahead and say that this is going to be one of the most competitive states in the country. Yeah. This state I could see going to either candidate by only a few thousand votes. But we go ahead and we dive into this. So we see New York Times Siena by 3 points. We have Atlas polling has Trump at 6. Noble Perspective has Harris +1. Susquehanna, Trump +6. Emerson has Harris +1. Rasmussen, Trump +2. This state is ultimately a tie. Yeah. Now, if we're looking at all this data right here, has Trump us +1 using the RCP average, but I only have Donald Trump winning the state by a very, very slim margin. Donald Trump is going to end up winning in Nevada basically by the grit of his teeth. It's going to be almost as close as Georgia was last election cycle. Now we're going to go into the state of North Carolina. North Carolina is one of the most beautiful states in the country. I really love it there. I would actually love to live there at some point. I won't lie. So if we go ahead, we look at North Carolina now. Now, we do have a few polls where there are outliers. Once again, we have a New York Times Siena polling with Harris +2, and we have CNN +1 for Harris. And WRAL at a tie. Now, if we're going ahead and we're looking at all of this data right here, those are the only outliers. The thing is, though, with North Carolina typically swings the direction that the country is swaying in each election cycle. So that is why I am actually going to put North Carolina, believe it or not, in the lean Republican category as well. Donald Trump will go ahead and win this state anywhere between 2 to 2.5 points on election day. Now, y'all, here we go. We got the blue wall. Now, Trump is looking pretty good right now. He's at 268 to the Democrats' 226. All that Trump has to do is win one of the blue wall states. Thing is that the blue wall likes to go ahead and vote as a trio. I have Trump cracking the blue wall. Hold on. So, y'all might be wondering, what state is Trump going to win in the blue wall? Well, as we know, there's been a lot of talk about Pennsylvania. There's been a lot of talk about Wisconsin and Michigan. But I want to go ahead and talk about the state of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin, all right, the polling was pretty off in the state the last several election cycles. I mean, as you can see, Biden plus 6.6 at this time, Clinton plus 5.5. And we look at this polling, all right? They have the RCP average of Harris plus 3. Sorry, 0.3. But right here, this is an outlier poll. The only reason why Kamala Harris is up in this polling is because of the CNN poll at 6 points. Other than that, all right, we have a 1 point for Kamala Harris, 2 for, right? What's going to happen is that I think Trump is going to pull off a win in Wisconsin before any other state that is in the blue wall. Trump will go ahead and win Wisconsin by a tilt category. And that would give Trump up to 278. Trump will be named President of the United States and we'll all go to bed, right? But I do want to go ahead and talk about these other swing states. So in the state of Michigan, where I do have ties to the Trump campaign there in Michigan, I do want to go ahead and talk about it. So according to the RCP data, Harris is up by 0.8. To me, this state is ultimately a tie and could go either way. Harris is only up because the Quinnipiac, the Susquehanna, and the Morris polling. Now, this state was also off by several points. Last election cycle and in 2016, it was off completely. Now, a good reason why I want to talk about this is because New York Times Siena has this as a tie. And if we're going to go ahead, we're going to take this polling error into account. Trump also wins the state of Michigan. And it won't be up by a tilt category, which gets him to 293. Yeah. And in these blue wall states, Trump will only win them by about a quarter of a percentage point to about half a percentage point. Now, if we go ahead and let's look at the big state that everyone's been talking about. That is the state of Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania was very competitive last election cycle and was very competitive in 2016. But the polling error in 2016 went ahead and gave it to Trump. Biden didn't win it by that much in 2020. Now, if we look at this, they only have Trump up by 0.3. But this is because we have tie after tie after tie. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ties, according to these pollsters. Now, if we look at a New York Times Siena saying that it's a tie, we can ultimately go ahead and basically assume that Trump is up by about 2 points. Means same with the college right here where it has Harris up by 2, and with the Morris having Harris up by 2. But I want to put Trump in Pennsylvania together as well. Well, Trump will go ahead and win Pennsylvania by ultimately a tilt category. Yeah. But if I were to say that if Harris was going to go ahead and win any of the swing states, it would be Michigan. Michigan is the most left-leaning out of any of the swing states this election cycle. And if Harris is going to win one, it's going to be Michigan. And so my final projections for Donald Trump, though, is that he's going to be winning by 312 to 226. And I have Donald Trump's floor at 272. Cool. I think Trump is in a very strong place right now. Well, when it comes to everything right now. Now someone's asking me who's going to win the popular vote. I'm going to be honest. I don't think we should ever talk about the popular vote. I hate the popular vote. I don't think the popular vote should even be counted. But I have Kamala Harris winning the popular vote by under a percentage point. I think it's very possible for Donald Trump to win the popular vote very easily this election. And he would be the first Republican to do so since Bush in 2004. So, but now let's go ahead and let's talk about the Senate. So, the Senate, we got some interesting states up here. I do have Texas going. So here's the thing. I don't necessarily disagree at all with this. However, I think we can see a situation on election night where Trump goes ahead and pulls McCormick over the edge in Pennsylvania. And Ohio, I don't know why no one's saying this. The Republicans going to win in Ohio. Trump's going to pull him over the edge and they're going to get a win. I think Republicans are going to ultimately take the Senate anywhere between 52 seats to 53. I do not see a situation where we get any more or any or really any less. We are not going to have a tie in the Senate anymore where we would have to rely on JD to be the tie-breaking vote, but let's say it does, we still have the majority. Now, the real question is who's going to win the House? That is what we all need to know. So the House is going to be a lot more competitive this year. Here. It's basically a dead heat in the House right now. Oh, and I'll be honest. I think we're in a good spot as Republicans to take control of the House, but it's going to be by a slim majority. All right, so the seats that I have us are taking, we're going to take Alaska. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take the 6th Congressional District of Arizona. Don't know why this isn't interacting now. This thing. Why are we doing this? So we're going to take the 6th Congressional, well, of Alaska. And the thing is, Alaska is not going to go Democratic. Republican's going to win that seat. Now, Maine's congressional district could actually go Democratic, but I want to give Republicans the edge here. State of Iowa. We're going to win this seat too. Iowa's 1st district, we're winning it. Now we're at 206 to 213. I also think we're going to win a few seats in California. I think we're going to just keep these guys in power here in the state of California. And in Arizona's 1st district, we're going to go ahead and pull off another win. And now we're at 217 217 representatives to 206. Now, North Carolina's 1st district. That one I have going to the Democrats. It's at a very close margin, but the Democrats will ultimately get it. Same with Michigan's 8th and 7th district. And in Pennsylvania's district right here, it will go to the Democrats. What I see is that we're going to pick up just a few very contested seats this election cycle. We're going to win Pennsylvania. We're going to lose Pennsylvania's 8th congressional district. We're going to hold on to New York's 19th congressional district. Like I'm trying to click it. We're going to hold on to that. And I don't know why. But, God damn it. But we are going to go ahead and we're going to have a slim majority. Where are the 4 I am missing? I can't tell. But ultimately, I do have us barely holding on to the House. I do not see a situation where the state of Maryland gets another Republican. New Hampshire, it's going to be a bit more competitive. Ultimately, we're not going to get one. Colorado, who was that? So Colorado's 8th district, that will go to the Democrats, obviously. Now, I do have a sleeper pick, though. That is Texas 34th congressional district. My sleeper pick for this election is Texas's 34th. That is only because the southern tip of Texas has gotten a lot more conservative over these past several election cycles. And I can see Vincent Gonzalez actually losing it. And so I will have the Republicans just barely having the majority once again, anywhere between 218 and 219. But that will be enough for us to go ahead and do what we want to where we don't have to make any shitty plans to go ahead and say like, hey, Dems, we're going to go ahead and give you this. We're not going to have to do that negotiation, thankfully. But I want to say this. Election night is literally here. It's going to be a good time. Tomorrow night, we're just going to have a happy hour stream. We'll do a Q&A. We'll just go ahead and react to some videos. If I'm able to go ahead and go live, I got to go ahead and set up signs for the polling places here in my district. So if we're not doing that, ultimately, I will try to post a few videos of just me putting up the signs. But guys, get out there and vote if you haven't already. And we're going to make America great again on Tuesday night. Thank you all, and God bless.